Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Wednesday, just one day away now from Arsenal returning to Europa League action with that game in Norway against Bodo. Glimt, the players are training this morning at London Colney before heading out to Norway later this afternoon. Mikel Arteta does have a press conference once they land over there. I think it's about 7:30pm at UK time. So keep your eyes peeled for that and all the latest news to come from Arteta, where I'm sure we'll give updates on team news and things like that, which I will speak about in this video. I also want to speak about some interesting comments from Nuno Tavares, who's having a very good time over in France with Marseille at the moment. Right, we'll start with the game tomorrow night. Big game for Arsenal, real opportunity to totally, almost guarantee themselves passage into the next round. But it's a very tricky looking game as well. Bodo, no mugs, as we saw last week at the Emirates. They can play, they're decent, they're not a bad team by any means, and they're very, very good at home on that artificial surface that they play at. It's been a long, long time since they lost at home. I can't remember the exact number of matches it is now, but they tend to win when they play at home. So Arsenal are going to have a very difficult evening ahead of them in Norway tomorrow. And sort of team news-wise, it's going to be interesting to see what Mikel does and exactly who he takes. Does he leave anyone behind today if they're fit? You can understand the injuries are going to be left behind. But if you're fit, will you be left behind? That's the big one for Mikel. With that game against Leeds on Sunday, quite early, 2pm, players won't get back till Friday. It's like normally you know what he likes to do at these games. He likes to make all the changes for the starting 11, but have very strong bench. We saw in the game in Zurich, Arsenal's last away game in this competition, the likes of Gabriel Jesus came on. I think Odegaard came on. He brought on Saka, came on. I think he brought on big name players to sort of see that game out and make sure he had some strength in depth on the bench just in case it was needed. Will he move away from that this week and actually leave some players at home and pack the bench with a lot more youngsters? That remains to be seen. What looks like Gabriel Jesus won't travel. He didn't train today. Got an absolute kicking against Liverpool, Jesus. Got that sort of nasty head clash on the head as well. He got the elbow from Smith. Who was it? It was Tsimikas, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Tsimikas who elbowed him in the second half. He got up from that one, then he took the nasty blow again right at the end when he crashed into Alisson and Van Dijk. Arsenal say he's okay from that and there's no issue in terms of the head. That's the word coming out of Arsenal, or was last night, but he didn't train today at London Colney, which is their last training session, so you would expect he's probably going to be left behind, and that makes perfect sense. It's like you give Jesus a rest for this one because he's going to be so influential in that Leeds game on Sunday. So leave him behind, don't take him on a plane, don't make him go over there just to sit on the bench. Let him have some rest and recuperation. No Zinchenko training again today, so it looks like he's definitely out still with that muscle injury that ruled him out at the weekend. Obviously no El Neni, Smith Rowe. So they're the sort of four players, key first team players who didn't train today. Whether the rest of them, the likes of Xhaka, who has started every single game this season, Martinelli, who started every single game this season, whether they travel remains to be seen. I think they probably will. I imagine they'll be on the bench, but I think they'll probably travel. It's a big arse though. When you look at Gabriel, Xhaka and Martinelli, if they say they started, I don't think they all will, but I think one of them probably will. It might well be Gabriel at centre-back just because of the other options that Arteta has. It's like, if he starts and then he starts against Leeds on Sunday as well, it's like 5 starts in 10 days or 5 starts in 11 days for Gabriel, that would be, which feels like an awful lot. But some big decisions to make sort of team news-wise from Mikel heading into that game. Interesting to see what youngsters go. 4 of them trained today with the first team squad. Matt Smith obviously has been in and around it for ages. He trained today. Kyan Edwards trained today, which I imagine that Kyan Edwards, if Jesus stays, Kyan Edwards will go because he'll be the other striker. So you'll have obviously Nketiah start, but then you'll have Kyan Edwards on the bench. Katlin Kırcan trained today, the Romanian midfielder, and who's the other one? Bradley Ibrahim as well trained today. So they're the 4 youngsters who were with the first team at Colney today who could potentially make the flight and be part of the travelling squad. I mean, I said it in yesterday's video. Honestly, I'd be tempted to start Matt Smith in this one. He's been in and around it for a while now. Been on the bench. He's not got any minutes. I really fear about starting Granit Xhaka again. Maybe you can start Odegaard. You could play Odegaard and Vieira together. In that sort of 2, you have Sambi as a holding player, then you play Odegaard and Vieira, kind of like when last season you'd play Odegaard and Smith Rowe in some of the games, and that would give Granit a rest. You probably don't really want to play both Odegaard and Vieira at the same time, but needs must, I think, and you've got to find a way of giving Granit a little bit of time to rest. He can't keep starting all of these games. I mean, he's no spring chicken. I know he's not mid-30s, but still, you got to give him a rest at some point. And I imagine it could well be tomorrow, so we'll wait and see on that. I went through it yesterday, but I think the sort of starting 11, when you look at it, it looks pretty... Gabriel's a big one. What happens at centre-back? But I imagine it's going to look like sort of Turner, Cedric, Holding, Gabriel, Tierney, Sambi, maybe Odegaard and Vieira as the two, and then, I mean, the front three we know will definitely be Marquinhos, Nketiah, and I'd be stunned if Martinelli starts. Surely Nelson's going to start this one. I thought Nelson looked quite good when he came on, in the sort of final 15 minutes against Bodo last week, and you've got to give Martinelli a rest. You can't start him in this one, surely. So you'd think it'll be Odegaard, Vieira as the two maybe behind them, and then Marquinhos, Nketiah and Reece Nelson. So I reckon that's probably the starting 11, but we'll find out more. Like I said, Mikel Arteta's press conference is tonight. We'll try and get a bit of a hint on who has travelled and who hasn't as the day progresses today, before that game tomorrow, which is a big game. If Arsenal win that, 3 wins from 3, 9 points from 9, won't be guaranteed qualification, but you virtually booked your place there, and it's so important to top the group. You don't want to be coming second in this one, because if you do, then you have to go straight into the round of 32. If you top the group, you get a bye, so that's 2 less games you have to worry about in the second half of next season. You go straight into the last 16. So really important they top the group. Arsenal put themselves in a good position with those 2 opening wins. Now it's a case of trying to see the job through, getting it done. If you can get a result tomorrow, and then you can pretty much get it guaranteed against PSV next time out. So big game for Arsenal. Looking forward to it. Hopefully they can get the job done. Nuno Tavares has been speaking. Some interesting comments. He's obviously doing a press conference ahead of the game with Marseille's Champions League game that's coming up. And this is what he had to say. He was talked about Arsenal and the move in the summer and all that. He said, at Arsenal, I do not know if it was a problem with competition for Kieran Tierney, but for me, that's not even the point. I came to Marseille to finally be able to play in my position. When signing with Marseille, I wanted to have an option to buy, but Arsenal refused. With my agents, we always wanted the purchase option, but Arsenal didn't. Now I'm at Marseille, with or without the option, I'm happy. At Arsenal, I'd probably have only played in the Cup. I came to Marseille to play in my position in the Champions League, in the league and in the cup competitions. Marseille gave me this opportunity. Look, fair play to Tavares. I think he's having a really good season. I think, 3 goals in 12 appearances so far in all competitions for Tavares, making a big impact there, playing as kind of left wing back for Marseille. I don't think you can really complain about Arsenal not putting an option in the deal with Marseille, because it wouldn't really make too much sense for Arsenal to have done that, because at the end of last season he hadn't played very much. When he had played, he made a fair few mistakes. His value wouldn't have been the highest. Tavares. So Arsenal are probably looking at it thinking, well, if you go to Marseille, have a good season, your value is going to be far higher, so why would we be tied into a sort of purchase option at this stage? And he's still got a long time left on his contract at Arsenal as well, so you can't really complain about that for me. I think Arsenal are well within their rights to say, no, this is a straight loan, and then we can assess things at the end of the season. You know, with his performances so far this season and what he's been doing for Marseille, Arsenal have been proved right, because his value is definitely increased now than what it was in the summer. So I don't think you can really complain about that. I'm a bit surprised you're talking about I can play in my position. I mean, he played in this position when he was at Arsenal most of the time. And he also can't really complain about not getting too many minutes last season, because I think he would have known when he joined as well that he was going to be very much the backup to Kieran Tierney. Obviously now he's back. He's got even more people ahead of him in the pecking order at Arsenal, and I think it's pretty obvious that Tavares probably isn't going to have a long-term future at Arsenal, and they will probably look to cash in and make a bit of a profit on him at the end of the season. When you've got Zinchenko there, you've got Tierney there, you've got Tomiyasu who can play at left back. It kind of makes sense. If he continues with this form and has a really strong end to the season, then you would think Arsenal may well look to cash in and sell it permanently in the summer. I mean, maybe not, remains to be seen. But interesting comments from Tavares, and hopefully he can continue doing what he started the season like for Marseille, because I think he's surprised a lot of us with his performances. Certainly his finishing as well, which has been very good. Wasn't always that good at times when he was with Arsenal. Always used to enjoy the old pot shot which flew into the stands, didn't he? But he's got his shooting boots on so far for Marseille, and good luck to him. Hopefully that continues. All right, that's about it from me today. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please do keep your eyes peeled for any Arsenal-related news between now and the kickoff tomorrow in Norway. Like I said, Mikel Arteta will be doing his press conference later this evening. I'm not going to be part of that press conference this time because it's my 10-year anniversary with my wife and we're going out to eat tonight. A bit of a celebration do over here. So, I won't be part of that press conference today, but I'm sure you'll see all the updates as they come through from the other Arsenal reporters doing the rounds, and the transcript will be on arsenal.com as well. Have a very good day, everyone. Speak to you soon.